Good evening.
Good evening.
All right, we are going to convene the marketing committee meeting. Let's do the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, roll call. I'm Chairperson Alex Cedric.
Oh, hey, I'm Secretary Alex H.
I'm Carmel Monfiletto.
Lisa Martinez.
Commissioner Liaison Paul Bauer.
Bill Zolper, Town Manager.
Okay, we have the adoption of the agenda. Do we have the approval of the June 6, 2023 Marketing Committee meeting minutes?
Make a motion to approve.
Anyone second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right. The meetings have been adopted and approved. All right, so on the agenda today, the first item we have discuss and possibly vote to recommend to the town commissioners ideas for.
Alex, just real quick, do we need to also approve the agenda for today? I don't know.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, sorry about that. Do we have a motion to approve the agenda?
Sure, I'll make a motion.
Anybody
to
second?
approve.
I'll second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, the agenda has been officially adopted. Now, sorry about that. So, item 1 on the agenda, discuss and possibly vote to recommend to the town commissioners ideas for a fundraising campaign for the proposed town hall and police station. So in our June meeting, we had discussed possibly a mural, and people would be able to donate towards that, and we would have threshold levels. Does anybody have any other ideas for fundraising on ways we can generate some interest in the town hall and police station? So in interest of the June meeting, to kind of piggyback off the mural idea, what we would then have to do as next steps is look at some artists, solicit some bids, figure out what those costs would be, so that obviously we make sure not only that it's not a deficit, but we're breaking even, and that obviously we would figure out ways to promote then that we're getting a mural painted, how big that's going to be, things like that. What size of the wall of the new town hall it's going to be. Anyone else have anything to add to that? Any ideas about that?
Is there going to be any streetscapes? Like, is there going to be trees or anything we could, have someone donate or sponsor?
So on the south side of the building that'll face the townhouses on Rodney Street, there will be some green space on that side. As far as planting trees there, because the fire department requires so much of that space to be open, we're not going to be able to plant any trees right away.
Same with park benches too.
There'll be room for park benches there, sure.
Because that might be an opportunity
Yeah.
too.
I agree. Yeah, I think that'd be a really nice touch.
Especially if we, covers a lot of the cost and then you have it donated or sponsored by someone.
What about bricks in the walkway, like some people do?
You could do that.
Is that part of the plan, like to have it?
So there will be, in that green space that'll come on the south side of the building, Route 1 will be here, there'll be green space, town hall's here, the condos are there. It'll be a pathway that goes through to the current parking lot at the town hall. So there will be some type of sidewalk that runs through there, whether it's, of course, we'd rather have it, it's gonna have to be pavers, because it's gotta be pervious. So you could do pavers and put names on it for the
Yeah, I
donors.
actually did the paver over in Penny Lane over in Rehoboth. It's like a holiday gift for my wife. So it was like $250. It's a nice little.
Yep. Yeah, and I know we had talked about in the June meeting inside if we were going to do, like plates on the wall. But I think we had talked about surfboards or something else where it's a little bit more appropriate for Dewey or, speaks to the beach atmosphere, just so that it's not just plate boards. Does anybody else have any ideas about that besides a surfboard? Anything else?
Was your thought, would it tie into the artwork, or if you sponsored the artwork, would your name be somewhere in there on the mural? I don't know. Or because I always thought maybe the surfboards or the little things would be underneath the mural, like people that sponsored it. I don't know.
I think that could be really cool. I think you could also talk to the artist, whoever, and, see what their design is and ways that we can incorporate the name tags into the design itself.
Mhm.
I don't know the logistics of that, if that would, present an eyesore, or if that would actually be a really cool way to do that. We'd have to obviously defer to the artists themselves about that. But I think anyway, any ideas are welcome at this point. I don't think anything's locked in stone.
I love the surfboard idea. Are there other shapes that kind of represent Dewey Beach? Like I'm thinking like a horseshoe crab. Are there other things that we kind of think of as Dewey?
I think a sand bucket, if we can. I don't know how, if that would work as a plate, but I think if you can somehow figure that out, that would be cool.
Yeah, I like the horseshoe crab idea.
Sunsets?
Yes, Paul.
Is not a member of the committee, but is a liaison. What we want to do, this would be the October meeting. So the presentation to the commissioners to vote yes or no to would be to have, let's put these items that we're coming up with, going to recommend them. Between now and October, we have to find out how much it costs to paint it. It might be $100,000 to paint the wall, so like, wow, well, we're not going to make 100 because we just paid 100. So we want to take that into consideration as well. But if you came up with, because I like the pavers, and there would be a donation list. So let's say pavers, horseshoe. So picture, I look at any artwork, and there's, the photographers and everybody. So look at this 3 layers, right? Here's your sky, here's your skyline, and here's your sand, and here's the people in the middle, right? Something like that. Just, your next sunrise picture, you'll look at the same, or sunset, you'll look at it the same way. But so what would you put like on, okay, here's the walkway coming up, like say bricks or, come up with what its suggestion is, $100, I don't know. 100, what was the one in?
It was 200.
$200, okay, so bricks are $200. So then what would it be the same for horseshoe? Anything in the sand? Right, so an artist will draw anything. So, here's a horseshoe crab, here's a lifeguard chair on the back of it. Would have your family name, for example. Well, that's not $200, that's gonna be more.
Yeah.
Right, and then if you want a banner coming across with the plane with your family name on it, well, that would probably be the most, that's at the top of the wall, right? So that's what I'm trying to come up with is, the suggestions are, these are the items that we'd like to recommend to the artist to come up with a price for, and it'll help get the ball rolling here, saying, okay, this is what we'd like. How much is it gonna cost to paint it? And then, then we gotta work on getting the donations in.
Yeah, and I think we can also,
But I'd have the artist give us a sample saying, okay, here's a rough sketch of what we're thinking about.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think we could also, with that in mind, still stick with that threshold of the 250, 500, 1,000, and then other, if for some reason someone really is adamant about donating for this mural, and they give a donation of 1,000 plus, then we can have the artist do something special for them, in that case, let's say they're drawing people and, you put names on the backs or something like that. Again, that's me spitballing. I am not a painter.
People walking on the beach with their dog, and here's
Exactly.
on the dog is their family name or something.
Yeah. So I think to that point,
Tiny dog.
getting artist bids at this point for then the recommendation for you all, so you have the information necessary to make the decision. I think that will be the next step for us, and I definitely think that will probably also bring out some ideas as well.
Do we have any artists in mind, or do we go to, Development Artists Collaborative and ask them if they have anyone? I mean, do we have anyone that we're thinking of?
I personally don't. I don't know if anybody else.
There's some local, preferably, I think we should use a local artist.
Yeah.
That would be my preference.
Following up, I can follow with Leah. Or
We just saw her this morning.
You just, okay.
Yeah.
Is she
You see her
open to
outside.
it?
But we didn't talk to her.
We didn't talk to her about it yet.
specifically about that.
This is right up their alley, right?
Right. They would have somebody who would do it.
Is there any discussion of artwork outside? Like if you're looking at a giant horseshoe crab? I'm just throwing out, is there anything kind of along the walkways they walk in?
Not as yet, no.
Well, obviously just spitballing, but what ideas beyond the crabs?
So, I think I've seen, I can't remember where it is, but there's some places where they have a giant, metal sculpture of a horseshoe crab, or you could do a lifeguard chair. How do you throw out that? We've talked about a bucket, could be a sand castle made out of metal, right? Just something when you walk in, and maybe crazy, but just to, to add an additional aspect to it, to make the building look even prettier, and we have a paid for it sponsor.
Carmel, were you going to say something?
No.
Oh, look like you.
I'm
I thought you were
just
raising your
deep in
hand.
thought.
Yeah. I mean, I like that idea. Obviously, it's logistics, does it cost money? Are we going to raise the funds? How does that work? But, I think there's obviously a benefit to beautification.
So what do we have written down here? So horseshoe crabs,
Some of the ideas so far, we have horseshoe crabs, surfboard, beach buckets, pavers, that they would be able to donate for pavers. Within the mural themselves, they would be able to donate at a threshold where their name or something like that is put into the mural so that it's immortalized.
how big of a wall do you think
Like
we
art
have?
chair.
I don't know, you're gonna walk in and there's a lobby when you first come in off the street. And in that lobby, there'll be an elevator immediately to your right and a stairway immediately to your left. And then a little bit further in that lobby, there'll be a door on your right that'll take you, it'll say administration, town administration. You'll go through that to another smaller lobby that'll be in front where the administration window is. Then you go back to the main lobby and you make a left into the door on that side. And it'll say police on the door, and you go through there. And as you walk into that lobby, immediately on your right will be parking enforcement, parking ambassadors. And then directly in front of you will be the police desk. So that's kind of how it's set up. And I do have the dimensions of the lobbies, but I didn't bring them with me.
I mean, yeah, just, we'll need that, so we'll have an idea of like how big of a wall are we painting?
Bill, is there going to be a room like this, like where we're going to have?
There will be. It'll be upstairs on the second floor. It's 27 by 38, I think. So it's almost the same size as this, not as big.
Have you discussed, so obviously you got to have the administration, you have to have the police, but have you thought about any naming rights? Or, I know I'm talking crazy, but like upstairs in the room, I mean, you could call it the beach room, but you also could call it, the Smith room or something, just to tie into the local town. I don't know, I'm trying to think of other areas we could, create some financial revenue.
Here's an idea too. I was just kind of inspired by looking at the lifeguard pictures. If you get one of those digital frames, even a TV, and you just have a jump drive, and you do it as a low-hanging fruit thing where family has to donate $5 and they can have their picture in, and it just constantly runs. So again, you're not going to get a lot, but at the same time, if you get 100 families, it's still extra money, and it's a cool way to show, the residents of the town, the fun that people have. Again, emphasizing that this is also a family community as well too.
I love that idea of just doing things that tie in the town hall to the whole town.
Yep.
Right? Like it makes it what it is, a community meeting place to some extent.
Absolutely. Yeah, and then again, obviously the residents get to choose within reason what they're picking to represent themselves, their friends, their family. So it gets that communal buy-in as well.
Or pets.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah, absolutely.
Tie in the pets, I think that's a really good idea.
Yeah, I mean, that's part of our community, right?
Yeah.
Could we do just a traditional fundraiser that is like a beef and beer or something like that, or can it not be associated with alcohol?
We don't have a liquor license,
No, but just,
so the
like,
town
who
couldn't,
would you put it through? Like, if you were gonna do a fundraiser like that?
so like a restaurant could do it for us,
Yeah,
because you'd have to have the license to sell.
Have you ever
You
talked
can't give
about-
away liquor without the,
Have you ever talked about like a Dewey week, right? Where 5% of sales go to town hall.
that's good.
Like
just,
Yeah.
just
restaurant
like,
week.
yeah, like a restaurant week.
Yeah.
It's a Dewey week.
We did that for the lifeguards, right? Yeah,
Did that work pretty well?
it did. Yeah, it did.
Yeah, I mean, I like that idea. I think, Carmel, we can take that idea and just restrict it to just food, or something like that. Where we're still, the goal is to bring the community together, but obviously on terms that we can do as a town.
yeah.
I know that there are restrictions in terms of events because of getting logistics with cops and police officers, things like that. Am I accurate with that? So we would have to,
But
think,
plus, can't you just get a liquor license for a specific event? Because I know when I worked for Cheer, we didn't have a liquor license, but for our big like Christmas party or whatever, they would just get it for that event for a certain number of hours that day, that's it.
There's a 1 day. Now, you can't charge for it, though.
But do you charge, if it's a fundraiser, you charge admission, you charge for the entertainment?
Look at that.
or it's that whoever is sponsoring food, et cetera,
Yeah.
they're donating X amount of profit.
Better off having somebody that already has it do it.
Mhm.
Typically, towns don't get in the alcohol business, period, ever.
Mhm.
There's a liability issue.
Yeah.
So someone's there and they drive home and something bad happens and then the
Yep.
town gets sued over it. So, great idea. I love the idea. However, there's the liability side
Yeah.
of it that
Risk
towns stay
benefit.
away from it.
So totally brainstorming a different idea, and it's something I just saw. It's called I think it's called a dip jar. It's about this big, and it actually you connect it to Wi-Fi. You come in and you just put your credit card in there, and it's an automatic donation of a set amount, like $5 or $10. I was at a college, and they were just looking for, and literally it was right there. And it was, please help our school, right?
Yeah.
And we went in, it binged, and it was done. It was pretty slick, and I wonder if you have that, in town hall, right? And it's just there, and you literally set up to Wi-Fi, and it's happening. If someone feels like giving $5 or $10, it takes 2 seconds.
Yeah.
Something.
Yeah, I think, ideas like that where it's not a huge amount of money, but it doesn't cost a lot, and you can still generate some donations, I think are great ideas,
Mhm.
because they ultimately help us inch closer to the goal.
So when is building supposed to start?
So right now, we're in phase 2, the mechanical engineering and plumbing phase. They did 2 wormholes, they call it today, one in the parking lot
Mhm.
outside the code enforcement building, which is on Route 1, and the one in the parking lot of Town Hall to see what the makeup of the ground is underneath. So they did that today. We figure about 4.5 to 5 months for phase 2. And then once that's done, then we'll go out to contract probably in May. We'll put it out to contract. It'll be out for people to bid on it probably until about June 1st or May 15th, somewhere in there. Then we'll have to make a decision. My decision, if it was up to me, we wouldn't start until after the season next year, until about right where we are now.
Mhm.
No sense of tearing down, especially our code enforcement building where our parking people are, parking ambassadors, until after the season. But that'll be a decision I left up to the commissioners.
Well, so then we would have time if we
We got
wanted
plenty
to
of
do
time.
like Dewey night or Dewey weekend, like, everybody come out, whatever, November 3rd.
Yeah.
And the restaurants would give 5% of their sales or whatever. We could do that maybe 4 times over the year.
Yeah.
Pick a hot weekend,
How was the lifeguard? How did it work? I'm sorry, I missed it. The lifeguard fundraiser.
From what I understand, it went well. I know there was a bar in town, or a restaurant in town that did that and featured it, and it went over well. And I know the lifeguards were very appreciative of that donation.
So was it basically every time someone wanted to spend a portion went to it, or was it something?
Do you remember?
Evening between certain times.
Between, I think, 9 and 12, and it was a certain percentage of all proceeds between that time. Went to the lifeguard.
Yeah, I think we have a good opportunity too now because with fall starting soon, in the winter, things slow down significantly. So if we can present local restaurants with an opportunity to then have more people come,
Mhm.
frequent them, whether it's a business or it's a eatery, they're going to be more apt doing that because that's going to be a drive for them. That's going to be a slow night that's now turned into an event for
Mhm.
them. So, we have plenty of time to plan, but we should also start thinking about those ideas on how we can promote this and find partners any way we can.
I mean, if you think about it, the commissioners in the town has been very pro-business over the last year, approving like 9 or 10 outside areas for people to eat. One of the good things that came out of COVID. So that expanded almost all those businesses, the ability for them to have more patrons, so they're turning over more money.
Mhm.
So the town's been very proactive when it comes to outside dining.
Yep.
So this would be a good way for maybe the the businesses in town, whether it's the partnership, Highway 1, combination of all of them together, to kind of give something back.
I think it's great.
Instead of, I'm sorry, instead of one, zeroing on one place, maybe you could say like a pub crawl and get several, places that would be interested in doing something like that.
Yeah, again, to the logistics and the liability aspect, I think if we figure out a way where the town is not necessarily responsible or liable, these are all great ideas. If we can't, I think we can still modify those ideas where it's more of a just sample crawl, where instead of you're talking about pub crawl, it's just seafood crawl, and you're trying a little bit of a bite here, bite there. Definitely, these are great ideas. It's just, making sure that we're playing within our box, so to speak.
Or like Rusty Rudder, I think they do like a chili, cook off or something.
And there's a Bacon Fest.
Yeah.
I was trying to figure out, so if you were to think of the new town hall, what is the theme around it, right? So then how can we tie it into that weekend for Dewey? Is it about expanding services? Is it creating a great visitor experience? Is there anything that we could then leverage into a Dewey weekend?
So, I mean, it's a beach-looking town hall. So I sent him a picture of the building that we're currently in, and another picture of a building down in Ocean City that looks like a lifeguard station also. And that's kind of what we were going for. Now, understanding we were kind of limited on the space and the height because of the town codes on the height and the setbacks. But then we wanted to maximize the amount of ground that we had to ensure that our police officers and all our town employees have enough space to work in for the next 20 to 30 years. We want this building to last. So does it look as nice and as cute as this building does?
Yeah.
Maybe not quite, because we had to expand it out and up as much as we could. And when you do that and you maximize space, it almost sometimes turns into almost a box look, but we tried as hard as we could to keep it looking like something like a lifeguard station. Yeah. So if you wanted to go with that, then you could go with that.
Yeah, so, like futuristic lifeguards where astronauts in their bathing suits,
They're all silver.
Yeah.
Silver bathing suits.
Yeah. But yeah, that's good.
But I mean, when we're looking at funding, there's going to have to be furniture, right? So I mean, we could get the funding. You could say this money is for the furniture inside the building, or you could say this money is for I don't know, something on the outside of the building that's unique. Because when people are going into a restaurant and they see that some of the money that they're paying is going to be donated, they like to know kind of, well, where's it going and what's it for?
Yeah.
So I think the idea of the theme that Alex has is good.
Yeah.
I love the idea of kind of a lifeguard, right? Or like somehow it's enhancing the services Dewey provides.
Yeah.
That plays a role. The other direction we could go in is Delaware's favorite playground, right? So it could be, playground weekend or something in the winter, right? Like winter playground or something. And then you talk about, the way I almost see it is you have a theme for the weekend, and then you have the next sentence is money, a percentage of these restaurants will be donating for the, the new town hall.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's a great idea.
And in an ideal world, everyone creates a little dish that ties into Dewey, and then you go around and you taste it, right?
Yeah.
So you're like, you go everywhere and have an appetizer, whatever their Dewey specialty is.
Yeah, I wonder with that if I don't know if it's easier to then just say the proceeds go to from X restaurants go to then, or if you just say, hey, it's a $20 donation to attend, and you can then go to all of them. I don't know if it's 6 to 1, half dozen the other.
Yeah, I think it's about keeping it simple. Yeah, and what are people going to fall through? But if you've said like half of the profit for this particular item is going to fundraising, then that's the only item, and maybe that's easier for people to buy. I just saw over at Big Fish, they now have 302 favorites, right? And it's their dishes that tie into 302. Could we have Dewey favorites? At each of the restaurants, and that then goes to contributing for the town hall. But we have to make sure, what is it stepping outside of what our role as a marketing committee or as a town is? Is there anything that gets us in trouble?
Yeah, you're always better off, but like typically when you have a bar crawl or something like that, it's some group that's an LLC. And towns aren't LLC, so there's no limitation of liability. There's zero. You can get sued for $1 billion. So at that point, there's a risk of doing anything really, right? So for example, the Starboard has insurance, Nalu has insurance, Woody's has insurance, and that covers a lot of things. People fall, and you got, it's sad, but you have to think of all these things ahead of time, right? Someone trips and falls and, they sue the restaurant. It happens every day. I mean, it's not unusual. You always hate to see it. You don't want to see anybody get hurt, but it happens. So wherever, we want to limit what our exposure is to it. Would prefer to have no exposure to it, to be honest. But you also still want to do things. So you want to encourage something to go on here without, stopping the presses. So, what groups can we get to come in to do it and support it? And we're the beneficiary of their donation is typically how I'd like to see it happen. That's the course of least resistance so there has to be something in it for them too. So they're advertising their restaurant. Like if we had a new restaurant in town, Starboard Club would be a good example, right? So you might want to, sample some of their food or something, right? We're having a beach party here on Saturday. Great time to have advertisers come in, right? I mean, they advertise whatever your new menu items are, things like that. So, maybe we do something in the spring.
Yeah.
Because we have to get this information out to everybody too. So, come up with the ideas, approve it in October, and then, start implementing by November, and then December, January, everybody's in the holiday season, and everybody's head's in a different spot, right? January, you start thinking about it again. It's a new year. All right, what's coming up? I'm not going to the beach. I'm going on vacation.
To Bill's point about, we need to fundraise for all these different things. Do we have targeted lists? And if so, is it our responsibility to do outreach or yours? And what I mean by that, if we're trying to get furniture and we need donations, well, then it may be best to be asking, businesses that sell furniture. So it makes sense for them too, to donate, I can't think of one off the top of my head.
So we would rather just have the funding, and then the town would decide what type of furniture would go into the building. So we wanted to, everything to be kind of matched, and then we wanted also to be something that's gonna last some time.
And then if
So
you're
we'd
doing
rather just have the funding, and then purchase the furniture.
Right.
from one vendor at a state discount.
Well, there's also a lot of people that love it here that don't live here.
Right.
That might want to donate. So
Mhm.
we have to think of how we would reach out to those people too and get them. Because if we do a lot of things in the off season, but it's not as crowded, but yet you have all these people that they love it here. They would be here every weekend during the season.
So our web page is set up now. Kate's done a very nice job of doing a donation page. You can go in there and donate to the lifeguards. You can donate to a number of different things. You can donate just to the town. And that's very easy for us to just put out in our newsletter to talk about that. And Kate's going to bring it up now. You can see how she's got donations set
That's
up.
awesome.
Yeah.
Great.
So you can see all the different things you can donate to. And our big drive right now is donating to the fire department. So whatever the town citizens come up to the fire department, if it's $10,000, we're going to match it. The town's going to match it with another $10,000. My first year was here was 5, last year was 7. This year, with the town citizens giving money, in matching it, we could be possibly $20,000 donation.
Wow.
How's the response been so far?
It's been okay. We had one person come through with a very big donation. And I'll thank that person probably next Saturday night.
Yeah.
When we present the check to the fire department.
Great. When's it close? When's the donation?
Friday.
Anybody else have any ideas to add to this?
I don't know if we want to do
Thanks,
this. So have you guys ever seen one of these? This is from, I had never seen one. One of my coworkers is Polytech, but it's a card with discounts at different local places. I don't know if it's $10, there's value, or if we go, if people, it feels like a lot of work, but I thought it was interesting, right? It's kind of a local support card. And so, I don't know.
Yeah, Kate does this too.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's a great idea. I don't know if that's something that we could do, because we would then, the businesses would have to, I don't know if that's
We gotta
more.
be careful not to overstep.
Yeah, I don't know if that's more of us or if that would be an idea for a Dewey Business Partnership.
Well, could Dewey Business Partnership just all, or could we suggest that they agree on, 3 or 4 nights where they're, no matter where you go,
Right.
it's a 5%. So it's not gonna be like Starboard one night, Claw one night. It could be
So
like,
weekend, yeah.
like a weekend where anywhere you go, 5% is donated.
I think
From all the businesses in town.
Yeah,
Yeah, well, and I think it could drive more business here, right?
Thanks, Alex.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it's all in Dover, so there's really not a ton of value there. But yeah, wouldn't that be cool if we picked the quietest weekend of the year? I don't know if it's February or.
well, or not even, like Thanksgiving, a lot of people come home, or that's a big weekend down here
Be here for
too.
the sip and shop.
Yeah,
So the question is, can we drive more people by doing this, so the restaurants benefit, and then we
Yeah.
can take a percentage
Gotcha.
of it?
Yeah, I do
Yeah.
think we should look for weekends where there's nothing planned, because we don't want to detract, and you're gonna get resistance if then something else is planned and you say, well, can we piggyback on that? They'll say, well, we're fundraising for this.
Mhm.
So if we can pick a weekend that's not really, that's slow, but we still think we can get some foot traffic, things like that, I think we'd probably get more adoption.
But when you have weekends like Carmel was saying, when you have like Sip and Shop or the Spring Festival that Kelly Ranieri does with the local artists, the restaurants, we usually have more people in town that night at the restaurant, so those would be probably good weekends to think about it.
But do you think they would think that we're actually like riding on the coattails of that versus driving?
Well, they're there for the Sip and Shop where they're supporting local artists, but then they go to dinner later that night. That really shouldn't take away from the Sip and Shop.
no,
Oh,
and
I know.
really, if you pick a slow weekend, right, and they're not making that much money, and then they might be reluctant to give up a percentage of it, versus if it's a busier weekend, and they know they're gonna make great money, they might be like, 5%, yeah, we'll give you 5%.
Plus, some of the places close over the,
Yeah.
certain months.
Yeah, so we'd have to do it before,
Or after, in the spring.
well, before February, definitely, because everybody like February
Yeah,
really is when they
yeah.
close, right?
Yeah.
Until
Well,
St. Patrick's
I
Day.
mean, restaurants typically they'd like to get more patrons in the winter.
Yeah.
What about
Yeah,
St.
that's what I
Patrick's
was
Day?
thinking.
St. Patrick's Day weekend is
Yeah.
packed.
Yeah.
Or Starboard could even do it like their bingo night, right? Because that's like one of the busy things in the winter. There's really not a whole lot going on, but bingo night is always
We
crowded.
do a town hall bingo night.
There you go.
Anything else about this?
Do we have anything we need to do, or are we gonna
I
continue
think-
discussion?
I think this is more for action items for next, because we still have to figure out the mural.
Right. We want to formalize a recommendation
Yeah.
that will encompass getting some preliminary costs on the cost of painting it, the size of the wall. And we can figure out those two things, but include that, if you could include that in the motion somewhere. But the recommendations would be the levels. So, here's the ground floor levels. These are bricks. I don't know, pick the number, 200,
Yeah.
250, whatever you want to come up with. And those the commissioners might say, man, that's an awful lot for brick. Make it, 100. Okay, but you're making a recommendation. So put that in there that way. And then, but list some of those items you wrote down, the horseshoe crabs, the lifeguard chair,
So are we thinking today we're making that motion? Is that?
well, because it would have to be the October meeting. If you don't want it in the October meeting, don't do it today. I mean, we could do it in the November, December meeting too, but we're not going to move on until we have. Kate, when's the next e-blast, email or physical mailing go out to everybody?
Physical mailing or any blast?
Physical mailing.
That won't be until spring.
Right, okay.
But Kate has the ability to send out a blast like she's been doing. So for example, we're gonna have some rough surf coming up.
Yeah.
So tomorrow I'm gonna ask her on Thursday to send out this blast to everybody about the rough surf, because we don't have lifeguards on, right? They're
Yeah.
done. But she's able to put that email blast out to how many? When you send that out?
We're up to at least 3,500.
That's great. That's the list we should use.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'll be great. I think if I'm understanding this correctly, we have action items, and we should all individually come up with what the thresholds for the donation ideas would be, to then discuss for the next meeting, and with the possibility of voting at the next meeting for the recommendation for the commissioners.
Okay.
So obviously, in the interim, from now and the next meeting, come up with what you think your plan would be. $100, this gets you a surfboard. $250, that gets you this. And then obviously we have the pavers we discussed.
Yeah, what I'll do in the notes is I'll try to capture all the stuff we talked about.
Yeah.
We also have the benches, right? If we can have
Yeah.
a couple benches, that could be a big.
Yeah, I agree.
item then.
To put all those items in there, these are things we're thinking of, set up that you can have your name put on.
Yeah.
And let people pick.
Yeah.
Everybody likes that,
So do we need to vote like?
likes to see their name and things.
And Bill and Kate, I don't know if you
Dune
think this
match.
is crazy, but this little device is so easy. Like, if I send you guys a link, could we test it? I mean, do we need to vote on it, or can we just put it at town hall and see if people see how it works? Because I'd love to have it at events, right? Like, would it be great if we could have it at the end of the season party? If we could have it at, outside of the gala, whatever big things we are, and people just walk in if they want to give, but I'd love to test it. I don't know if that's something.
If you have any information on it, you can send it over to us, so at least we can look at costs and whatnot. Because that could, I'm thinking that could also be used for other things when we have, lifeguard competitions and, when they're in their fundraising season.
Yeah, the user experience was so easy, but I have no idea what it's like. And they basically charge a percentage, and there's the fee, so it could add up. It could not make sense, but something just to check
Yeah, we
out.
can definitely look at it.
Thank you.
All right, anything else?
Jaws, right?
Yes, so item 2 on the agenda, discuss updates regarding the organization of the Jaws on the Bay movie event. So Kate, do you want to give us an update on where we stand with this?
Sure. So we are all set for next Friday, 22nd, 8 to 10. We have signage is done. We have rented for free a popcorn machine, so we'll be doing that. We have can koozies that we'll be giving out to people who donate when they come in. We're asking for a $5 cash donation when you enter the beach. Also asking $1 donation for bags of popcorn, which I think is pretty good. We've been advertising on Facebook. Right now, we are at 600 marked interested.
Wow.
50 confirmed. I expect that number's going to really skyrocket. As you know how Facebook works, if you start looking at events in your area, they really start populating 1 week out and then a couple days out and whatnot. So I think it's going to continue to grow from there over the next week. I do have a few volunteers. I would like, yes, I got yelled. I would love at least one more. I'm trying to get at least one person at each Bay Beach entrance, just while people are kind of filing in to try and get those donations if possible. You can totally bring a friend to hang out with you. You should only need to be there an hour. I'm thinking, get there maybe a half hour, 20 minutes before we're, going to start, and then hang out a little ways into the movie. And then once the crowds kind of die down, you can just enjoy. So it's not going to be like an all-night thing, but if you guys, or if you know anyone or anyone who is watching who would like to volunteer that evening, to just kind of get people to donate if possible, that would be great. I think everything else is covered. We're just hoping for good weather.
I'd like the record to show that I would love to volunteer, but I'll be out of town, so make sure that that's noted in the record. But yes.
Why?
Yeah. But if anybody else would like to volunteer and help Kate out, it sounds like it's going to be a great event, so good job organizing it so far.
Yeah.
Do you need anything else with that? Any ideas, any suggestions to get the word out even more?
I don't think so. If there was anything that you guys thought of, then certainly I am all ears. We're kind of just going off of the movie events that we do on the ocean side and kind of how that works. So I'm hoping this will be pretty simple and easy without too much of a problem. The guy who does the setup for our movie, he comes out, sets up the screen, sets up the audio, all that. So we don't need to worry about any of that stuff. We're gonna be setting up near the gazebo side, so there's already power there. We don't have to worry about tapping into any other power source. So I think we're pretty straight. Again, I'm hoping that the weather works with us. But other than that, yeah.
We have public bathrooms there.
Yep, and bathrooms are there as well.
Will people be able to be in the water?
Yes.
Yes, yeah. Do you have lifeguards or?
So we will have one.
I will not be in the water. That would freak me out watching that movie, but I was just curious. Okay.
Oh, come
So
on,
you-
that's the
you can
idea.
bring their floats.
Can if you want.
Okay.
Swim at your own risk. But
Yeah.
yeah, we'll have a guard there,
We'll
just
have a
keeping
guard
an eye
there.
on everybody.
Does anybody have any ideas on how to get the word out? Anything to add to the Jaws on the Bay event?
So WRDE is aware of it, and I reminded them this morning when I was doing a interview reference to 5G poles. They said they'll follow back up later in the week.
Awesome.
The Cape Gazette tends to cover this kind of stuff too, right?
Do we
They're
have
they're covering
anyone?
it, it'll be in Friday's paper.
Oh, cool. Do we have anyone that will dress up in a shark outfit, at the event to kind of bolster the spirits and everything like that? Or is that a surprise that I just ruined, Kate?
No, should we ask the mayor?
I think that would be very funny.
Well, I think some of the
have me
commissioners
like the best
dress up
suggestion
too.
I've heard today.
We could have two people dressed as sharks.
And if you're looking for a shark outfit, call Carol Everhart. She has one there to be happy to let us know.
Oh, gracious sake.
That would be very funny.
It's been worn before. I'm not gonna mention any names.
I actually looked at remote control shark fins.
Did you?
And I just decided that would be appropriate.
Probably.
It felt wrong.
Anyone else have anything to add? All right.
Well done.
Public comments, I know Patricia's on there. Patrice, sorry. Any public comments?
Ellen was on for a little while too.
It seemed like, yeah.
Not at the moment. I just love your ideas. I have a few things. I wasn't sure if I could participate in the meeting, but I might send you a little note with some other ideas that just go along with what you've already said.
Sounds great, and we look forward to you joining very soon.
I do too. Thank you.
Thanks, Patrice.
All right, with that in mind, do we have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
I make a motion.
Anyone
Sure.
second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right.